Just gonna have to sit with me because I need someone to sit with me. Oh, of course he did. I was a little bit slow to get into it at the beginning, but I don't think that was the book's fault. Hi guys, welcome and welcome back. I think we can all agree that every single time we pick up a book, it is with one goal in mind, and that is to feel that 5-star feeling and to find our newest 5-star book. The 5-star feeling is like nothing else, it's what we all want. Today though, this week, I'm taking it a step further because I have seen so many videos at the moment of people completing series that they're in the middle of because they're in the middle of so many series and they want to start wrapping some of them up. I am not in the middle of that many series, which is making me feel like there is something wrong with me. And even more than a great 5-star book, I love a 5-star series. When the actual individual books don't even have to be a 5-star, but the experience of being in one particular world for such a long time with one set of characters that you just really fall in love with and get to know and become obsessed with, that is my favorite thing. Like a 5-star series to me, I've always been a series person. At the end of every series of TV show, I always cry when I have to say goodbye to the characters. I love a series. So over the next however long, I think like a week-ish, we'll see how we go. But over the next week, I am on the hunt for a new 5-star series, or if we do it right, several new 5-star series, which has to be the goal. So I have already pre-selected the books that we're going to be reading. You'll have to see what the other ones are as we go. And I've obviously pre-selected them because I think I have a good reason to believe that they could all be really good 5-star series for me. So book one, and you guys know that I'm already reading this, but book one is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I'm finally entering this world. I have to admit, I've already read about 60, I think it was 67 pages. And so I've already got some thoughts, which I'll tell you right now, and then I just need to get on with reading it. I'm already like, I need to keep reading. So for those of you that don't know anything about this series at all, it is basically Gossip Girl / Made in Chelsea. It's based in London and it's about very, very wealthy young adults. It is a character-based story as opposed to like a plot-driven story, and it is a romance. It's between Magnolia and BJ, who are basically childhood friends, childhood lovers. I mean, it feels like their story is so intertwined from the very beginning. They were kind of their first boyfriend and girlfriend at school, and now they're kind of in their early 20s, but it's a very toxic, very messy relationship. Their whole friendship group, their whole environment is very toxic and very messy, to be honest, in exactly the same way as Gossip Girl. I think my thoughts so far, having read like 67 pages, is that it feels like I'm just reading Chuck and Blair. I mean, Magnolia is very Blair coded. She dresses impeccably well. She dresses exactly like Blair dresses and has this incredible love and knowledge of fashion and names all of the outfits, and every time somebody new walks into a room, she knows exactly. She's like the Miu Miu pleated twill skirt from 1974. Like, she knows all the details of every single item of clothing. So she's very Blair coded. If anyone's my age, then Gossip Girl was being released week by week when we were at school. I remember watching new episodes of Gossip Girl coming out, like having to use a VPN so that I could pretend I was in the States, and watching on these like illegal websites where I was watching it in like the most pixelated, terrible quality because I just had to see the episodes. And the way, I mean, I always used to joke that like Blair raised me. The way I was so obsessed with Blair and Chuck, especially series 2 at the white party, I can't. And I used to Google all of her outfits and try and find dupes, and then I was like, actually I can't dress like Blair, because the only way to truly dress like Blair is to have the money to buy the actual items, because dupes of those clothing items were just not it. And like, we'd all rush into school the next morning and like we'd all sit, and it was just like peak girlhood. I remember us all like sitting on top of our desks talking about last night's episode, and they were like Serena girlies and Blair girlies. I was always a Blair girly. So I'm trying to dissociate from that a little bit because I really believe that Magnolia and BJ deserve to stand on their own 2 feet. But right now I just feel lots of very happy, nostalgic feelings, I suppose, as opposed to like the adrenaline of like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? I kind of just feel super nostalgic because it's taking me back to that school era. Anyway, I'm so excited to keep reading. I feel like it has very high potential to be a 5-star series, to be honest. I have been looking for something like this to just really get lost in. I feel like I haven't truly had that yet so far this year. Up first is Magnolia Parks, and let's go read, and I'll catch up with you in a bit once I've read some more. Here's to a fun week of only reading 5-star predicted books, and I'm so excited about it. fear that I'm obsessed. I've basically just read all day. I think I've read more than I've ever read in a day. And I'm now like a decent chunk of the way through. I'm whispering because Cameron and I just went to the pub for a drink after work. Don't get me wrong, I had such a nice time. But Magnolia and BJ are stuck in my brain. And the way I was trying to, honestly, I felt like Magnolia, the way that I was trying to be like, Ellen, focus on your date with Cameron. Stop thinking about your book. Anyway, we've just got back. He's downstairs now, I think. We've just got back. I'm gonna make us some dinner and then I'm just gonna keep reading. I mean, could I finish this whole book in a day? Probably not, but I'm now over 200 pages in, which I never really read over 100 pages in a day, but we've done it today, so I'm hooked. And I love Tom England so much. Oh, and why do I not have loads of money? Why am I not a multi-millionaire? Why am I not sitting on an £8 million trust fund? Like, it's so toxic. Why do I want to be part of it? Ooh, okay, right, I'm gonna go keep reading, have some dinner, and then I'll catch up with you, I don't know, later tomorrow. I'm obsessed. I'm actually debating now whether this should have been like a spoiler reading vlog because I want to talk about it. Page 310, someone tossing a hat in the ring. That's all I can say without there being any spoilers. I'm dying. I'm speechless, I'm dying. Hi guys. Okay, so it has been a week, I think almost a week or a full week since I finished Magnolia Parks, and I think that's because it broke my brain. So I don't really know what to say, / I have so much to say that I've been trying to synthesize my thoughts, and my opinion of the book keeps changing so much, and I figured, you know what, I just had to start talking, and if me talking about it takes an hour, then you're just gonna have to sit with me because I need someone to sit with me. I was also terrible at vlogging my reactions to the book as we went. Like, I think that I got a few clips here and there, but by and large I was in it, you know. I was busy. I was too busy to talk to you. So my thoughts so far. The first, I'd say 30% of the book, I felt I'm gonna say too, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I felt almost too strong of a correlation between Magnolia and BJ and Chuck and Blair. For my generation, for us kind of like late millennials, I was raised by Blair. Chuck and Blair were everything to me. They consumed my mind, they consumed my thoughts. They were, you know, 3 words, 8 letters, Say Them and I'm Yours, season 2, swallowed me like a black hole. I was obsessed. And so I found this book to a large extent really nostalgic, and I think if I was experiencing this for the first time before I experienced Chuck and Blair, I honestly think I'd probably be a broken human being, which I think is how I see a lot of people respond to it, because it just does crack you in half. So when I first finished the book, my immediate rating was like, well, when I first finished the book, it was 4.75, and then it came down to 4.25 because I was like, I knew what was going to happen. I knew exactly what like the shock reveal was going to be, I suppose. I just knew exactly what that was going to be, and so much of it felt so much like Chuck and Blair that I felt like it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a entirely new feeling for me reading this book. However, over the last week since I finished it, I've been thinking about it non-stop. I really am now desperate to read the next one. Every song I listen to reminds me of Magnolia and BJ. I was listening to Taylor Swift, This Love, in the shower this morning, and you just have to assume that's where this is going to go. That by the end of Into the Dark, like surely they will be together, and like This Love will just tie them neatly in a bow, like had to let it go, but it's gonna come back to me kind of a vibe. But then like all of these, every song I'm listening to just makes me think of them. So now I'm like, well, surely then it has to be a 5-star. I think this is probably going to be a 5-star series. I think something that's very important to do going into it is to, especially if maybe you are like a little bit older, not that I think age should really dictate anything, but is to go into it knowing that it is super toxic and just like lean into it. I just told myself before I started, lean into being a teenager again, lean into, and these aren't teenagers, but they kind of act like teenagers, so lean into feeling like 17, 18, when like the toxic loves are the most addictive ones, where you do such questionable things in the name of either making a boy like you or making a boy jealous, and just that like very turbulent, toxic, but slightly euphoric time in your life. Just like transport yourself back there and then start this book. Because if you look at it through too much of like a sensible, mature lens, it will drive you insane and you won't be able to read it. But it's like such a good experience to read it and enjoy it. So I think that is where I'm at. Like I'll read books like out on a limb to feel like peace and contentment and to have an idea of what I want my love to look like and what I want my love to feel like, and to kind of transport me and my relationships into, like, I guess aspirational love books. There are ones that you read and they feel aspirational or you feel seen in them. This is neither of those things. This is, I am just going to be obsessed with people and like, you guys do you, and I'm really going to enjoy it. But no, I do not wish any part of that was my reality. However, the only bit that I do wish was my reality would be sitting on a nice £8 million trust fund, because oh my gosh, Magnolia's whole like tick quirk thing of describing everybody's outfits and everybody slaying so hard in every single scene, every single character. My bank account is absolutely terrified of me. I keep like browsing things I definitely can't afford and thinking, ooh, let's go shopping at Gucci next week. No, you can't, Ellen. You don't own anything Gucci. You can't afford anything Gucci. What are you thinking? So that's painful. The money part is painful. That's the only bit that's like quite strongly aspirational, because what a dream. I also do love that it's London and that so many of the places that they mention, I know them. I've been to one or two, just about. Lots of them you can't get into unless you're somebody, but it is really fun that it's London, and all the little descriptions of London make it really fun. So yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't have a rating for this book. I think maybe 4.75, only because I knew exactly who it was going to be at the end, and I was like, why don't you know, like, why is that not obvious to everyone? But I guess you just don't, like, you wouldn't, I can't give spoilers, so I can't talk about the ending too much. But yeah, I think because of the Chuck and Blair thing and because of the ending thing, I couldn't give this 5 stars. But I think now that I've kind of experienced the Chuck and Blair thing and I've let them go, and now Magnolia and BJ are like solidly their own 2 people in my mind, I think for the next, is it 2 books? And obviously we've got Daisy Hates to experience as well. I think for the rest of the universe, I will now be able to experience them in full. So I'm really hoping the rest of the universe is as addictive as this. I have a feeling it will be, only because everybody says such incredible things. So yeah, this was great. Such a good way to start this video, even if it has taken so much longer than I thought it was going to be, because I now haven't read in an entire week, which is pretty unheard of for me. So next, I have chosen already the book we're going to read next. So sorry we're not doing it in some fun way, but the next book we're going to read is The Crimson Moth, or Heartless Hunter if you're on the other side of the pond. It was actually going to read a different book in this video, which I'm not going to tell you what it is because you probably would have wanted me to have read that, but I've just heard such good things about this. And for those of you DMing me about it saying like, Ellen, you'll love it, well, I'm listening to you and now we are reading it. So this is also, as is the point of all these books, the beginning of a series. I think the second book just came out. I think it came out at the end of February. So I love the fact that if I am as obsessed with this as you seem to think I will be, then I can pick up the next one very soon. I have no doubt we're gonna love this. Witch Hunter, romantasy. The reviews all seem so good. that the enemies to lovers thing is like a real enemies to lovers, not a fake one. Super slow burn. I don't know anything more than Witch Hunter, but I'm so ready. I'm so ready to dive into this. So I'm gonna stop talking now. The Crimson Moth, my first ever Kristen Ciccarelli book, so a new author for me as well. Let's get reading, and I basically have the rest of the afternoon to read today, so I'm gonna get reading now, chill for a few hours, read this, and I'll update you when I have some thoughts. Some of the like classic telltale romantasy tropes that are starting to sneak their way in, and I don't know, right now I'm eating them up. They're obvious ones, you know, like she hates him, has done from a young age, but she originally had a crush on him and then learned that he was actually just like a really bad guy and didn't have a good character at all. And then now this is clearly the first time that they're gonna meet. So they've always known each other, but I'm only 4 chapters in, so I'm right at the beginning, and they're just meeting each other for the first time. And it's that classic where her forehead like collides with his chest, so she's like walked straight into him, and her head is clearly at his chest height, and obviously he's got like a solid as concrete chest. Oh, he's got a penetrating gaze, all the classics, all the classics. But I have to say, somehow, all the classics, they're all, so far in 4 chapters, it's all being woven in really nicely. I really like how we've been moving a story along and getting to know the characters and getting to know the world, all woven together quite nicely. Sometimes you kind of have like a lot of world description, then you move on to the romance, then you move on to the characters, or maybe that's not quite the right order, but it's kind of separated, because maybe the author isn't good enough. Sounds so harsh, because I'm not talking about any one particular author, but I think it's a sign of very good writing and like sophisticated writing when all of those things can be woven together and so early on. Like I've only read 30 pages and it already feels like some of those elements have been woven together really nicely. Like I feel like we're already into the plot. I've got to know like people in the town. I understand a little bit, but I understand some about how the magic actually works. I know the vibe, that's not a very eloquent word to use in this, but I know the vibe of the female main character and I know the vibe of the male main character, and I know like their principles. I just feel like I know a lot for 30 pages, which is really good. Anyway, I'm fully sucked in, so I'm gonna get back to it, but so far, I've got quite good things to say. Oh, and he grabbed her elbow to steady them both. Of course he did! It's the next day. I am now 59% of the way through The Crimson Moth. This book is so bingeable. I also think I love reading on my Kindle. I love reading on my Kindle so much, and I always forget that as soon as you switch to your Kindle, you just fly through a book like way quicker than when you've got the physical book, in my opinion. So as soon as I switched to this last night, I just was like racing through it. So we're 59% of the way through. The pacing has been so good. I feel like there is always something happening. We're like straight onto the next thing, onto the next thing, onto the next thing. And the slow burn is definitely slow burning. We're nearly at 60% and things are now starting to be a bit like, ooh, we kind of like each other. But what I also really like about this is they are true enemies to lovers. There's obviously like the witch and the witch hunter, and he has like a very, very valid reason for deeply hating witches. His backstory and reasons why are like super harrowing and just horrible, but then her experience of witch hunters and her backstory is also just really horrible and so heartbreaking. So she has every reason to just like deeply despise the witch hunters. And right now, I just cannot comprehend how they're going to overcome their differences, because they are completely on other sides of this fight. But anyway, I am like literally desperate and chomping at the bit to get back to it. So I'm gonna do that now. I have got all the supplies for a few hours of just like binge reading. I honestly think I'm just gonna sit here and finish the entire book. I've got 40% left and I just think I'm just gonna sit and read the whole thing today. I've got a very full Stanley. I've got a little bowl of snacks. I've got my favorite little like hummus chips, chickpea chip things. This weather is absolutely insane. It's so beautiful, and I love the fact that my pink room is just like a perfect sun trap. It gets the best light in the whole house and all the light just pours straight through this window. So I'm gonna curl up on the bed and read, and I will update you in a bit. But oh, it's starting to get so tense now. We've had like the first little whispers of like sexual tension and them like questioning, are they playing the game or are their feelings real? But the cat and mouse is so good. I was a little bit slow to get into it at the beginning, but I don't think that was the book's fault. I wonder if there's like a Crimson Moth playlist that I can pop on in the background. There will be. Spotify has a playlist for absolutely everything. Anyway, I'm gonna curl up, read my book, and I'll catch up with you in a bit. I love it when the romance is in like such little sentences, or someone else says something to him about her that makes him have like an immediate visceral reaction, but it's only small. So it's just like a little something. And like that's what makes slow burn so good, is when you just get like a little something that just like you can't help but giggle, like you can't help but smile. We did it! We finished The Crimson Moth. I also binged this one. I feel like we binged Magnolia. Now we've basically binged The Crimson Moth in just over a day. I flew through that. I think I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. It was so good. The pacing was, I think, one of the best bits about it. The pacing was so good. There was always something happening and we just moved on from one bit to the next so quickly, but so elegantly. Like it didn't feel like it was clunky, like forcing us through this plot. It was done really well. I really liked the magic. I really liked all the side characters. I love it when you've got well-developed side characters. I thought the romance was really good. Oh my gosh, they hate each other so much. I mean, it's a series, so we were never gonna get a complete beginning to end all in one book. We know that's how it works, but they really hate each other. Like there's definitely romance there, but they have a long way to go. I don't know whether it's just a duology or if there's going to be more books in the series, but you could have probably quite a few books in this series, because these two are not friends. So I'm so keen to get on to the next book. Again, even though this book wasn't 5-star for me, I feel like this could have been a 5 stars. Again, I believe so strongly in right book, wrong time, and that you can actually read a book that is like meant to be a 5-star for you, but it was just the wrong time to read it. I don't think this was the wrong time to read this book, but I do think reading it directly after Magnolia Parks was probably doing this book a little bit of a disservice, because my brain was so consumed by it. I have to be honest, I am still thinking about Magnolia and BJ, and I'm feeling really confused about why when I first finished it, or like when I was near the end, I was like, I think I'm gonna give Magnolia Parks 4.25. And here I am, nearly 2 weeks later, just still, is it not 2 weeks, a week, 10 days? I've no idea how long it's been, but however long it's been, like slightly all consumed by them. But now I've also got these two in my head, like Rune and Gideon I have to know what happens. So we've had such a strong 2 books. And because it's taken me so long to read these 2, I'm actually gonna leave this reading vlog here and not pick up a third. It was my full intention to read 3 books in this video, but I underestimated the emotional toll of reading such good books back to back. Safe to say, I strongly recommend both books in this video. If you are looking for a really easy to read romantasy that's like high stakes, slow burn, ticks every single one of those little boxes you want it to tick, definitely pick up The Crimson Moth. If you're looking for heartbreaking drama and two people that are meant to be together but make incredibly stupid decisions, but you're just desperate for them to work it out. Read Magnolia Parks. I'm so excited to vlog reading the rest of each of these series when we get to it. Next week's video is going to be pretty intense, like book volume wise, because you'll see when we get there, but I have a lot of books to read in next week's video, so hopefully I'm going to make up for the fact that we only read 2 in this week with reading quite a few in next week. I'm so pumped for next week's video already, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to do some more of these. I still don't feel like I'm in the middle of enough series. I don't feel like I've got enough like meat for me to sink my teeth into when I really want to dive back into a universe, but it's good that I've added 2 extra ones to that list. And I'm so excited to read the next 2. It's time to do some more book shopping soon as well, definitely, so that we can actually get The Rebel Witch, which is the next one, and we can also get, what is the next one in Magnolia Parks? Is it something, The Great Undoing? Something Undoing? The final one's Into the Dark? I don't know. We need to go book shopping to get all the books. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having such a lovely week, and thank you so much for your book recommendations for these 2, because definitely it was you guys that made me read these 2 books, and I found what I think are very strong contenders for new 5-star series, which is so much fun. So thank you very much, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye guys.